The truth is coming out, opening the doors of an era. Chosen one, you are no ordinary name. Even the most powerful man in America has engraved your name in his memory with a consciousness that has not forgotten you since day one. Yes, your story is big enough to be written in the headlines of history books, not on the pages of secret files. This mysterious energy that attracted even Trump's attention is now being revealed before the eyes of the whole world. Those who have been dealing with you must now face the fire of truth. Your presence has not only left a mark, you have been the spark that started the storm. Now everyone understands why they cannot forget you, why your name is still spoken. Get ready and write 999 in the comments, because your story is just beginning, and this time the whole world will be a witness. A shadowy figure was brought into play against a soul radiating pure intent. As events unfolded, it became clear that nothing about this confrontation was accidental or insignificant. Unbeknownst to you, while your words offered light and honesty, those in the shadows orchestrated a spiritual ambush, believing they could tip the scales against the divine by seeking out someone skilled in the dark arts. In your innocence, you carried a force that not only startled them, but shook the very ground under their network of secrecy. Attempts were made to unravel your peace with intricate supernatural schemes. Someone was enlisted whose entire craft was built on subverting spiritual law, armed with incantations and rituals crafted to turn tides, redirect blessings, and fracture intuition. What they could not understand was the origin of your clarity, nor how the words that fell so easily from your lips pierced straight through deception and denial, laying bare hidden motives and unseen intentions. With every utterance, their strategies fractured further, their carefully designed defenses collapsing as if built from mist. You described not just their hidden discussions, but the very consequences they had prayed would remain unseen, casting a spotlight on corners they assumed were out of reach. Each revelation acted as a key, unlocking what was tightly held and scattering the illusions they clung to. They found themselves exposed, not because you studied their patterns, but because you spoke from a source that exists outside time's usual boundaries. They had expected ordinary resistance. Instead, they met an energy that refused to bow to the usual laws of secrecy or sabotage. Their panic came not from being outwitted, but from witnessing the power of truth that could not be bargained with or outmaneuvered. As fear turned to desperation, they doubled down, pouring resources into rituals, consulting those who promised the ability to cut spiritual connections or block the flow of grace. Elaborate ceremonies, set to cycles of night and moon, filled the air with intentions meant to create confusion and exhaustion. Special places were marked with your presence, and personal tokens were repurposed for spiritual sabotage. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom. For you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. But every attempt backfired, not because of any flaw in their planning, but because your essence was anchored in something no earthly power could untether. Their efforts became a lesson in futility, the elaborate machinery of their malice grinding down to nothing as you continue to move, untouched and unburdened, through their storm. An army of spiritual antagonists conspired with a level of malice that would have flattened anyone without a direct lifeline to the infinite. Items charged with intent, objects entrusted with hopes for your demise, became tools in a campaign so detailed that not even your dreams were left untouched. Each practitioner, each ritual, each summoned force formed a lattice of opposition meant to extinguish your light and swallow your joy. Yet at the very point their strategy reached its fever pitch, an invisible threshold was crossed, one that rendered all their dark machinations powerless. The protective force around you activated of its own accord, built by countless acts of sincerity and alignment with higher principles, an energy that could not be bought or sold, manipulated or breached. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Their defeat was as spectacular as their plot was malicious. Instead of drawing your spirit downward, every volley launched in your direction only built you higher, redirecting the arrows meant for your undoing into ladders that elevated your authority and deepened your gifts. It became almost comedic, a reversal so thorough that their curses folded in upon themselves, compounding until the architects of misfortune found themselves trapped in the very web they spun for you. Justice, it turned out, is a principle that needs no intervention. It unfolds on its own, returning what is given with uncanny accuracy. This was not some random meeting of fates. Those brought into your orbit now, those sharing the message and the journey, form a tapestry of souls designed for a larger mission. The momentum that carried you to this place was not luck or happenstance, but the pulse of a much greater symphony, one that grows stronger every time another awakened soul joins in harmony. Where one stands alone, many now stand together, amplifying resilience and intention far beyond what any solitary voice could manage. And as that collective vibration rises, those who once sought to undermine you become ever more desperate, their strategies falling apart in the presence of such undeniable unity. The real cost was never measured in money or lost alliances, but in the energy that spiraled out from every action, returning exactly what was sown. Those who tried to drain your spirit ended up bankrupt in spirit themselves. Those who sacrificed honesty for advantage found the truth surfacing in their lives with a vengeance. The more they struggled to hide what they had done, the more their world shrank, until finally their schemes collapsed and the world watched their fall from grace. No amount of denial or distraction could hide the lesson that echoed through every outcome. You cannot bury light. You only bury yourself beneath its return. Every thread they spun in the fabric of malice tangled back into their own lives, binding not only their present, but the futures of those connected to their choices. The balance of the universe worked with such clarity that even the darkest intentions ricocheted right back, magnified beyond control. Spells designed to hinder another found their way home, transforming into burdens for the very hands that cast them. Financial resources vanished as if siphoned by invisible forces. Relationships withered, sleep became elusive, and peace slipped away. The burden of spiritual debt grew heavier, becoming a lesson written not just on one soul, but across entire generations. Those who once moved in secrecy now faced public consequences, reputations dissolving as the price of their actions demanded payment in every area of their lives. The universe, in its precision, tailored every outcome to fit the measure of participation. Those who orchestrated the harm faced the heaviest storms, while those caught up in the plot received gentle correction to steer them toward awakening. Correction, not vengeance, became the theme as existence itself reoriented them toward understanding and humility. Emerging from this season of spiritual siege, a new clarity dawned within. The ability to read through illusions became almost instinctive, as if the senses had been recalibrated to recognize the genuine from the false with a single glance. Spiritual resilience was forged not in avoidance, but in the furnace of resistance, turning every attempted sabotage into a lesson in discernment. Intuition, once a quiet whisper, became a lightning strike that illuminated the true intentions and hidden energies at play in every interaction. No mask could withstand this sight. No deception could pass unnoticed. What was once a vulnerability now became an unshakable shield, impenetrable to ordinary manipulation and fortified by every previous attack. Animals, children, and strangers seemed to intuitively sense this transformation, the way a lighthouse signals the presence of solid ground to ships lost at sea. In every space, the resonance of this journey created a ripple that unsettled anything inauthentic and welcomed what was real. The spiritual authority gained was not for spectacle or show. It was a living testament to what is possible when hardship is transmuted into strength. These were not tricks for entertainment, but tools that reshaped reality in subtle yet undeniable ways. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Life sometimes feels like you've been a tree in the middle of a relentless winter, every leaf stripped away, every branch tested by howling winds that chill you to the bone. Yet what looked like the end of growth was actually the quiet work of preparation, the cold and the shedding making room for a harvest that could only come through pruning. In the grand garden of souls, there are seasons when what you thought was abandonment turns out to be the gardener's loving hands, cutting away what is lifeless so that true life can flourish in the sunlight of a new day. When false friends and shallow connections faded from your life, it may have felt like standing alone on barren ground, wondering if anything good could ever grow again. But child of purpose, that was not a punishment. It was protection. Like gold refined by fire, you were being separated from the dross, the impurities that could not endure the heat of your calling. Where others saw loss, heaven saw the beginning of something unbreakable. The world would have you believe that loyalty is just being around when it's easy, but you were made to learn the difference between the company of the crowd and the communion of the chosen. Sometimes we mistake the closing of doors for rejection, when in truth, those doors were never meant to be walked through in the first place. The universe has a way of using closed doors and goodbyes to steer you gently but firmly toward higher ground. It's like being on a river that seems to hit a dam, only to find that in time, the current has shifted, and suddenly you're flowing into a whole new landscape. This is what happened when old relationships faded away. What was stagnant was released, and the waters of your life began to move with purpose. And when you walked through that valley, when you cried those quiet tears, thinking no one noticed, heaven saw every step and used each one to strengthen you. It was in those shadowed places that your roots grew deep, pushing past shallow soil to tap into waters that run beneath the surface. Those roots became your anchor, holding you steady when storms returned, and allowing you to reach higher than ever before when the sun finally broke through. Out of every season of heartbreak and every moment of seeming defeat came a new frequency, one that not only withstood the night, but began to call out to others still wandering in the dark. You carry now a wisdom that wasn't found in books or in the comfort of untested friendships, but in the crucible of trial and the classroom of solitude. Loyalty, you discovered, is not built on convenience, but on covenant, an alignment that lasts through drought and storm. You have learned to recognize the difference between those who come for the blessings and those who stay for the battle. That discernment is your shield, that wisdom is your sword, and that new song of your soul has the power to open doors no man can shut. It's like walking through a field that just a season ago looked as barren as the desert after a drought. Now, with the gentle arrival of spring, you see the first wild flowers pushing through cracks in the soil, evidence that life was working beneath the surface all along, even when you couldn't see a single green blade. This is how grace moves in your life, quietly, steadily, until one morning you step outside and the whole landscape is singing with new color. When you look back at the land of your life, you might remember days when hope felt dried up and every connection had withered away. The world will try to tell you that what's broken will always stay broken. But you know better now. You've seen what happens when faith is planted, watered by perseverance and warmed by trust. All those months you felt alone and overlooked were actually the sacred planting season. Now every bit of hardship is blooming as proof that no struggle is wasted in the garden of the chosen. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. You've become living proof that what looks like the end can be the starting point for a whole new blessing. There's something magnetic about a soul that has been through the fire and come out refined, not burnt. You carry that energy now. Your story is like a shelter, a place where weary hearts come in from the cold and realize there's hope after heartbreak, purpose after pain. Think of it like the mighty redwood forests. Those trees stand tall because their roots are intertwined beneath the surface, supporting one another through every challenge. The souls gathering to you now are like those roots, connecting, upholding, nourishing. You are not alone in this season. You are surrounded by people who see your strength and are drawn to its warmth. This harvest of new relationships, opportunities, and blessings is not just a reward for what you endured. It's the fulfillment of a promise that was placed on your life long before the trials ever began. The emptiness you once felt is being filled with abundance you could not have imagined. Where there was loneliness, now there is fellowship. Where there was silence, now there are songs of gratitude and testimonies of victory. Let every sunrise remind you, the night you survived was never in vain. Let each new face that finds you see the evidence of a life rebuilt on hope. And as you continue to grow, remember, you are a lighthouse now, a signal to every other weary traveler that restoration is possible, that new life can grow from ground once thought dead. You're not just a survivor, you're a sower of hope, and every step you take forward plants seeds for others to follow. As you move into this new season, know that what was once empty is now overflowing. The story that was nearly ended has become a testament to resurrection, and the foundation laid beneath your feet is sturdy enough to hold every blessing heaven is about to pour out. Keep walking, chosen one. The garden is blooming all around you, and this is just the beginning. Let the memory of the past be like the roots of a mighty oak, deep, hidden, but always feeding your growth. The gardener is not done. Every cut, every removal, every loss was preparing you to stand tall in the sun, arms lifted to the heavens, branches outstretched, bearing fruit for others who are still waiting for their season of restoration. You are proof that the universe doesn't waste pain. It recycles it into wisdom, multiplies it into love, and transforms it into a frequency that calls others home. So take heart, chosen one. What felt like exile was actually your invitation to enter the courts of destiny. The road that seemed lonely was really a path being cleared for your arrival. Every loss made space for a greater love. Every pruning invited a fuller bloom. You have not only survived, you have been prepared. The dawn that breaks over your life now is proof that night was never the final word. Where once there was pain, now there is purpose. Where once there was sorrow, now there is song. And every note you sing is a signal to the world that the best is yet to come. This was the silent curriculum of the Spirit, turning even the most bitter lessons into the seeds of a future where nothing essential could be lost, and every heartache served as preparation for higher service. In this new vision, boundaries were drawn, not from fear, but from insight, and the soul could finally recognize its true family, those whose courage was tested and found unshakable, whose love could stand any storm. When your path was set ablaze by betrayal, what looked like destruction was actually the refining process of your spirit into a vessel that could recognize truth in a crowd of illusions. What used to pass as companionship or affection now appears as background noise, unnecessary weights that would have dragged you down if you hadn't learned to see clearly. Every connection now faces the light of a new discernment, like gold being tested in the fire. Energy drains disguised as friends, love interests who dulled your vision, and manipulative family ties were all swept away by an inner wind you didn't even know you'd summoned. In the silence that followed, your heart was stretched wide, made ready to recognize real kinship, not by words or appearances, but by the resonance of spirit. As you stepped out from under the shadow of seeking approval, your voice transformed. You began to speak not from need or fear, but from a certainty that radiates with the confidence of someone who has seen the battlefield and walked off victorious. You no longer measure your worth by applause or agreement. What once might have felt risky, saying what the Spirit gives you to say, no matter how it lands, now feels like the only authentic option. Truth has become your atmosphere, and even the thickest fog of deception dissipates when you speak. The mere sound of your voice, charged with conviction and tested by adversity, sends tremors through any structure built on falsehood. This journey didn't just give you sharper eyes for the world, it reshaped the very frequency you carry. You can feel it in your chest. The difference between a soul that shares your divine resonance and one that wears a mask for survival. No performance can get past your radar. No charm can manipulate your boundaries. Your intuition operates like a spiritual compass, always pointing toward what is honest, and that compass never falters now. The very people who once triggered anxiety or threw you off balance now inspire nothing but clear, measured compassion. Where there used to be emotional storms, there's now a steady breeze that carries understanding, even in the face of conflict. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. The love you pour out comes from a new wellspring, one that doesn't run dry because it's sourced from the infinite, not from human need. The ache of loneliness has faded, replaced by a deep companionship with the presence that never leaves you, even in the quietest hours. The superficial bonds have dissolved, making space for new alliances, those who recognize the light in your eyes and bring their own to join with yours, not to dim, but to magnify. What others once saw as your vulnerability has become your greatest strength, a testament to the kind of power that grows not from dominance, but from deep spiritual integrity. This is a kind of love that cannot be bribed, coerced, or manipulated. It's as steady as the tide and as discerning as a watchman at the gate. Every choice now emerges from this sanctuary within, a place untouched by the old dramas, immune to manipulation, yet wide open to healing and restoration. You move with the assurance of someone who knows their roots are deep and their branches reach higher with every challenge. It's not about finding validation from the crowd anymore. It's about living in constant communion with the source, from which every true relationship will now be drawn. This is the spiritual inheritance earned by those who refuse to let the darkness define them, and who answer betrayal with wisdom and a heart more open than ever before. There are some who rise from adversity not only with scars, but with a radiance that spills over, drenching everyone around them in hope. The reservoir of love that fills your heart now does not come from patching up old wounds, but from tapping into a river that never runs dry, an inner reservoir discovered only after the world tried to drain you. As you pour into others from this abundance, it's as if you're lighting candles from a single flame that never grows smaller, no matter how many others it ignites. What was once isolation has transformed into belonging. A belonging not just for yourself, but for everyone traveling the hard road beside you. Every breakthrough you experience is a link in a golden chain stretching around the world, binding together souls who have walked through their own dark valleys and come out the other side with something unbreakable. Your progress becomes a signal that resounds across invisible channels, calling forth others who are ready to step into their strength. The energy you now radiate is not for self-congratulation. It's an invitation for others to discover that there is a current running beneath the surface, and that when one person finds freedom, it strengthens the current for everyone. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Your story isn't just a personal redemption, it's a spark that sets off a wildfire of awakening, burning away old fears and awakening hidden courage in those who cross your path. By choosing to keep your spirit open and your heart generous, you transform from a survivor into a source, nourishing the entire garden of souls who are learning to bloom in hard places. In this new season, your purpose widens beyond your own restoration. You become part of a quiet revolution, one that doesn't shout from the rooftops, but quietly shifts the tides, one healed heart at a time. You are no longer a solitary beacon on a stormy night. You are part of a constellation, a pattern in the sky, guiding travelers home. The same trials that threatened to extinguish your light have in truth made you brighter, so bright that others can navigate by your resilience. There is a promise alive within you. As you shine, others will find their way, and as more are awakened, the darkness recedes, because hope, once multiplied, can never be contained.